And to go deep into the relevance of this event, I'm joined once again by Chris Gilbert, Professor of Political Studies at the Bolivarian University of Venezuela. Hello and welcome, Professor. Thank you for joining us once again.
Happy to be here.
Well, the current constitution of Venezuela is turning 25 years. Why is a reform called on this moment of the Bolivarian Revolution? And let's also mention that on our first special program, we discussed about the importance that the government is given to the communal spaces of the base of the society. Do you believe that this reform could be a step towards that direction?
For sure. In fact, Nicolás Maduro, President Maduro, said that that would be one of the important components of the reform. I mean, in a general sense, I think it's always important to update constitutions. In fact, I come originally from a country that has an very old constitution, and that's highly problematic because no one really understands it. In fact, there's a huge business of constitutional law that has to explain the Constitution to people and interpret it. So it ceases to be a document that's useful for people. And so the Bolivarian Constitution is 25 years old, but surely along the way one faces new challenges. I think one of the important challenges that's been faced, we can see actually in this recent electoral conjuncture. Basically what we saw was a lot of interference from the United States. They support a candidate. In the first place, they twist the arm of the people with sanctions, which is quite a lot like war. It's quite analogous with actually carrying out a war against the people of Venezuela, saying, we're going to go on twisting your arm until you vote for the person we like. And then another challenge is simply the old problems of the state, corruption, things like that. In fact, a big achievement of the revolution in the last couple of years was the fight against corruption, and specifically the neutralizing of Tarek al-Assami's corruption. So you can see how constitutional reform, and specifically a constitutional reform that puts emphasis on popular power, more democracy, more socialism, could be used to solve those two problems, to make a more democratic country, and the communes might be an important instrument in doing that.
And in this sense, what would this reform mean for the people, for the Venezuelan people, for the common people?
Well, I think that what it should mean is more power for the people, more democracy for the people. I think that many people have an ambiguous idea of the state. If you ask someone on the street, on the one hand, everyone wants the state to solve their problems. On the other hand, everyone has complaints about the state. And that actually corresponds to ideas in political philosophy. I mean, liberal philosophy has traditionally been against the state. And then you have the other side of the coin, Hegel, maybe the greatest political philosopher or greatest philosopher, European philosopher of modernity, saying the state was the realization of the ethical idea. So basically the state is a highly contradictory phenomenon in capitalism. And I think the basic solution, which was proposed by Chavez, proposed in part through the Hungarian philosopher Istvan Mészáros, was to end the alienated state. And that sounds like fancy words, or end alienated institutionality. But everyone knows that institutions everywhere in the world, especially, well, in the capitalist world, institutions end up being separated from the people. People no longer control them. So the solution is to bring those institutions under popular control. And there's a long history of that in the Bolivarian process. You know, from even before the community councils, there were mesas técnicas de agua, and then the community councils, and then the communes. So there are all these instances of popular power that have actually been very successful when they've been employed. In fact, recently, we've seen 3 consultations in the communes. And those consultations, people can vote on problems. They propose those problems. You know, that's one important thing, because one problem with formal bourgeois democracy, representative democracy, is that people get to vote for things that they don't like. They usually have 2 options they don't like. And in these consultas, people can actually propose ideas, and their ideas get incorporated in the process. So I think there's been a hugely successful project of popular democracy, of going to the bases to solve problems. So that's why it's such a wise idea to go further into that, in that direction with the upcoming constitutional reform.